When my dad was assassinated, the place he was working in Kotu. He was not paid his salary. It was like a whole year salary. So he was assassinated, and still they didn't pay his salary for that 1 year. He had worked there for so many years. The least they could have done is just pay his salary. Simple. They didn't do it. It shifted my perspective because I was like, you guys, you've killed my dad. You didn't even pay his salary, and still I'm expected to just be quiet. No, that's where I gained the courage to always speak my mind, even politically. I said, what worse can they do? For instance, in the 1990s, I've told you, the church and culture, they played a huge role in the maandamano of multipartyism. They did. So why is it that are they tired, or what is wrong? Are they tired? Are they too relaxed? Did they get bought off too much? Because this was a time for our elders, our cultural elders, to stand up and say, you know what, we are still strong, let us stand with the young people. It was a time for our church elders to stand up and say, you know what, yes, let us stand with the young people, but they've disappointed us. Mr. President, you are our father. You are our dad. Please, please, please. You know, the same man, we don't want to see the man who was angry. That man scared us. And every single time I think about that man, I get emotional. We don't want to see that man. We want to see our dad, both of you and your deputy, as our dads. Take care of this country. Look after this country. Stop arresting people. Stop abducting people. Those are your children. And stop killing us. Thanks.
Greetings and hello, my name is Robert Rajoro. Welcome to another episode of Society Unplugged, where we talk real issues, amplify unheard voices, and explore the future. Today we have Wairimu Mukuru, an expert in African traditions, particularly the Kikuyu dialect. Now, in the recent past, on the recent developments that have been happening in the land of Kenya, you will notice one thing. There has been protests against the finance bill of 2024. There's a lot of youths that took to the streets exercising the democratic right as enshrined in the constitution to picket. Their only mistake was to carry a bottle of water to keep themselves hydrated and to wash off the effects of the tear gas. They carried placards containing different messages to their Kenyan leader. They carried their Kenyan flag exercising patriotism. They were mercilessly butchered. What are the effects of this bloodshed, especially on the nation of Kenya, the land of Kenya, and those leaders that ordered the shoot to kill order, those that press the trigger to kill our young people? What are the lasting impacts on them and their generations to come, their subsequent generations? Wairimu Mukuru is going to be taking us through all of these thought processes and the lasting impacts of violence and bloodshed on the land of Kenya as well. Before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, you know how the plug goes like. Place a like on this video so that YouTube plays a good algorithm to make sure we are visible. Also, click subscribe if you haven't done so. Join us on the journey to 1 million followers. At this juncture, I just wish to thank each and every one of you, for we are not too far from 1 million followers. Lastly, hit the notifications bell so you get notified whenever we post anything new. We want to take a moment to express our sincere, deepest, heartfelt condolences to those that lost their lives. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and your families as well. Back on set now to my amazing guest. Good morning.
Good morning, Robert.
How are you feeling today?
I am so well. Thank you for how you guys have welcomed me.
Whoa.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
look amazing. The
Thank
African
you.
look, I love it.
Thank you.
What inspires you?
I love my culture. I also love that mtu akiniona aone I am from East Africa. From afar aone I'm an African woman from East Africa.
Now,
Yes.
let's dive into it. Or perhaps, pardon me.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself and tell us who is this amazing person that we are seeing today.
Okay, my name is Wairimu Mukuru. I am a content creator on TikTok, Instagram. You can find me at Wairimu Mukuru. I dwell on African culture, specifically Gikuyu culture, and I have built my channel solely on the Gikuyu language, and I put subtitles for anybody else who's interested. I love my history, I love my culture, I love my Africanness. yeah.
Great content. I've camped at your TikTok
Thank
accounts
you.
and your social media account.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you think it's relatable even for people that may not be of Gikuyu culture? Do you think it's relatable?
Absolutely, it is. For me,
okay,
first, when I see your content, I'm looking at this African lady that is rocking the African culture, the necklaces, the bars, the headbands, the bracelets and everything. And I'm interested. That one, Kwanza, hiyo tu, I am interested already. And I'm sure it's the same to so many people because I've seen there's a number of likes and so many views as well.
Yes,
it is the same. And the fact that you also put the subtitles there,
yes,
amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Let's dive into it now. Finance Bill 2024.
Yeah.
Uproar. The youths are rising, the Gen Zs and the millennials. They don't want this. What do you make of all of these recent developments in our country?
Every single time when a country is being pushed to its limit, it's usually the young people who notice and who stand up. This is not something new in our history. History keeps repeating itself. For instance, when during the colonial times, you'll find that when the pink man pushed us too much, it was young people who stood up and rose against, for instance, Koitalel, Akina Wayaki, that was the first group. They stood up and said, no, we are tired. And these were young men. And then the second group that had gone to fight in the Second World War, that is where now you find Akina Kimathi, you know, all of them, Akina, people like, the people like Ole Kurito. That is now where you're finding they were also young men from the Second World War who were starting to ask for reforms. And then now the third generation was Akina, the people who didn't want to go into the forest were Akina Thuku. They decided to fight with the reforms, the pens and the laws, kuandika laws and trying to seek reforms from the British government through talking. So now Hari Thuku in the 1920s starts the Young Kikuyu Association, and then youth in Nyanza hear about the Young Kikuyu Association and they say, hey, even us, we will start our own Kavirondo Association. So all of this, they didn't have one leader. No, it is youth. Youth were thinking the same. Yeah. So now that motto, ikanza pole pole, ikafika Nyanza, ikafika all corners of Kenya. Yes.
It was like widespread.
Yes.
Pole pole.
Yes.
An uprising.
Yes.
That is what we are. Is this the same that what we are seeing today?
It is the same. It is the same. In fact, this now after that first revolution, the second one came in the 80s, whereby now you find Akina Goge wa Thiongo, and this was like a church cultural political revolution for multipartism, because you see in the church there were groups being formed for there to be multipartism. And then you would find even in the traditional sector, that is where now you find Akina Goge wa Thiongo creating plays such as Gahika Deda, you know, Deda and Kimathi, the plays, they were being used to give us that spirit of fighting for multipartism, a better Kenya. So even these people, they didn't, si mtu mmoja alianza, they didn't have a leader. It was the same youth who were thinking the same thing. See, that is when now Akina, what's his name, Rubai and Matiba called for a meeting during Sabasaba to have multipartism, and that's where in the 1990s, now that is where Sabasaba began. Right. Still the youth, they didn't have one leader. So history keeps repeating itself. And once you see the youth stand up, no, there's a problem. Yes.
Right. Now, we have seen the government react. First of all, they were adamant. They were like, oh, no, you have a right to speak. But even before that, they were quiet. They were silent. Then again, the president at a church function in Nyahururu said, okay, after the noise was like too much, you guys deserve a seat at the table to be heard, to be listened to, because you know you are the future, you are the next generation, and I believe that's why they are rising, because they are seeing like, oh, it's not going well for us in the next few years. Do you think it was too late for the president to speak?
Do you know, Robert, you see, this government, this was a chance for it to show that we can lead, that we can do better, we can create a better Kenya. But I feel like Personally, I am so disappointed because we could have avoided so much, and in so much, especially death of young people. Tunge avoid mambo mingi sana. Wangesikiza from the very beginning. So I do think that it was too late. It was too late for him now to start thinking about this. For how long had we talked about this as young people? Kutoka hii bill iletwe, we kept saying no. Sasa until mambo ikafika wapi? Hapa penye imefika. I wish they could have addressed these issues earlier. And that is a lesson to learn, that whenever the citizens say, we have to address this immediately, iwe immediately, with immediate effect, iwe ina address, ndo tusifikanishe penye tumefika. So I do think it was too late. And I think that is a failure on this government, in all honesty, because they could have shown that they can lead this country so well, but then this was a great opportunity for them to showcase their leadership, but they didn't.
Right, and even when we're talking about it, we're talking about different generations here. The ones that are in leadership right now, the ruling party, the government, and these people that are demonstrating, the Gen Z and the millennials. These are three totally different generations. Do you think there is a misunderstanding with regards to generations, how the generations perceive information and how they react to information?
This is the same our leaders, for instance, our president, he was there even in the 90s during these Sabasaba movements. He could see the young men. See, that's when even Raila Odinga, His Excellency Raila Odinga, was arrested, fighting multipartyism. These guys were there in the 90s when these revolutions were happening. Sometimes I think it's more of an ego thing. Because when we talk about generations, we've seen 3 generations, the Mau Mau, the Haridhuku, the Sabasaba now fighting for multipartyism. These guys were there in the 90s, so they know when the youth rise up, what we want. They know we want a better nation, we want a better Kenya. So for me personally, I don't think it's the difference in generations. I think it is the ego. For me, I really think it's the ego. Yes.
Right. There was bloodshed, and the only mistake of these youths was to carry water bottles, their flag, exercising patriotism. They were chanting the national anthem. We were there. We covered all of these events. They were mercilessly butchered. Where does this order arise from? Because we understand the president is the commander-in-chief. All of this bloodshed, if you're talking about the repercussions of the bloodshed, where does it start from?
Do you know, I hope that even us, we learn that when you kill people, ukiwa mtu ati kumnyamazisha, it doesn't work. In fact, it makes things worse. You know, orders from above. You know, like I noticed that the deputy president tried to blame the responsibility on Haji, the security, the leader, the one who looks at the security in Kenya. But you know, and the deputy president said, as a father, I feel sorry and I urge you people to just calm down. But you know something, a father also takes responsibility. Robert, a father must take responsibility. See who blame the blame game. Me, I don't like the blame game. Take responsibility. Say, you know what, here, and that will even calm people down. You know, like if I own up to my mistakes and say, you know what, hapa hatungeacha hii iende so much. Hapa tulifanya vibaya, forgive us. You know, the country would have been better, hata tunge feel poor. Right. But then when you play the blame game, inaletanga tu more anger. When you kill people to shut them up, to keep them quiet, those people gain even more courage. The fear, the remaining fear usually inatokanga. You gain more courage to stand up for what you believe in. Robert, my dad was killed fighting for the rights of Kenyan workers. Does that make me silent? No. In fact, I shamelessly stand for what I believe in still. Because I always say, angekuwa hapa. So even those families, they're saying, huyu wetu angekuwa hapa. Si angekuwa hata ya napigania. Right. Yeah, I hope we learn that kuwana, it doesn't work. There'll be more people like that. Kesho, Hata mimi nikiweza kufa leo Robert, kesho kuna Wairimu mwingine. Wewe, what you believe in, ukiweza kufa, si kesho kuna Robert mwingine atasimama aendelee.
Right, and let's talk about that, the fearlessness of this generation. It is compared also back to the Mau Mau.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about it.
Yeah.
And if you look at the similarities also, you're talking about abductions. Back, you said the pink man. A lot of people say the white man.
Yeah.
The white man
Yeah.
abducted so many
Yeah.
of our forefathers then, and they were youths, like you put it. The same thing is happening today. Do you ever fear for your life?
Not really. You know, Shakespeare once said, you only die but once. Unakufanga tu mara moja, hakunanga kukufa ati mara mbili. No, so and courage is not the absence of fear. Ni kuwa unaogopa, but you have to do what you gotta do. So I fear God, and I usually every morning, every night, I pray to God, and I tell God, please look after us, look after my family, look after me, look after all our loved ones, look after this Kenya, because this Kenya is in your hands. Please take care of us as your children. Right. So yes, there's usually that fear, but unajua courage, ni kujua unaogopa, but hata ukiogopa, you have to do what you gotta do. Let me tell you why I call the pink man the pink man. In the book The African Civilization, Professor Kihombo Thairo writes something very interesting. He states, there is nobody in this world who is white or black. Even you, Robert, you are brown.
Oh, I'm brown?
Yes. Yes, you're a darker shade of brown.
A good one?
Yes, a very good one. A very good one.
Appreciate it.
Yes, and even me, I am brown. There's no person who is white. White ni he ndo white. You will find that every human is pigmented, and that shows the diversity of God, the diversity that God gave human beings. But we were lied to that kuna mtu anaweza kuwa white, kuna mtu anaweza kuwa black. Only God. In my culture, we say mwene nyaga, the owner of black and white. Just that. So now we are all pigmented. Right. Yes, that's where the Nini comes
Amazing.
from. Yes.
Well put.
Yes.
Now, let's put more focus on this bloodshed.
Yes.
And its repercussions on the land. We are Africans, and Africa is our business. We have different traditions and belief systems and all of that. What does this mean to our land, especially the young people? They were just patriotic. Innocent lives lost. There was blood all over. What does this mean to the land of Kenya? What repercussions are we looking at spiritually?
Spiritually, first of all, there's an uncleanliness that has come because of the pouring of the blood of children. We call it the uncleanliness. And what happens when there's uncleanliness in a country, that government, the leaders or the people who are in power, they are not usually able to lead so well. Kuna patanga shida because God gets angry. So kukiwa na that uncleanliness, unless there's usually like a cleansing from our cultural leaders or even the pastors, by the way, they should be included. Let me tell you, the church should be. So umeona Kenya, we are a religious nation. So hata huachi hata makanisa, they do come and even cleanse, even the church elders. They can cleanse and pray and tell God, oh God, forgive us for anything that we have done wrong. So unless kukue na hiyo like a cleansing and people just have this day of talking to God, being clean, waongee tu na Mungu, igava unaweza kuta mambo itakuwa ngumu kidogo because of that bloodshed. And I did a video and I told people, any leader who did not listen to the youth, who was like being led by ego, let me tell you, things don't go unpunished. In African culture, so you know, there's consequences. Hakunanga ati sasa ati umefanyia mtu kitu mbaya, unaachwa ama ati your sins are washed away. No, you will have consequences. There are consequences because you've done wrong. So there will be consequences, unfortunately, for any leader who was leading in ego. To lead, you can't lead in ego. No, you can't lead in anger. You can't do that. Right. So, yeah.
In one of the shortest speech of a president in Kenya, William Ruto, the Kenyan president, spoke on State House, from State House that the other day. Citizens went on rampage, and then we started to see shootings indiscriminately in Githurai, Rongai, and everywhere. Do you think he could have avoided that, like, right on time and say, hey, I have conceded, let's stop this? Do you think he was in capacity to stop that and to stop all of this bloodshed? And even when we are talking about bloodshed, what does this mean to him and his subsequent generations?
First of all, that speech, my goodness, do you know, there's my friend was telling me, and we were chatting, and the next day after that speech, we kept looking out for each other. And my friend said we would call each other after 2 hours, right, tunapigiana, because that speech, we saw how angry he was. My friend aliniambia ye hakulala. In fact, he kept looking at the news. She kept looking at the news, looking at how Rongai was. She told me something very interesting. She said, us, we were just social media buddies. Sasa tumekuwa maumau, tumekuwa criminals, we were just doing content, and now we are scared. Imagine we are scared. And Mimi, I've never had to keep checking up on somebody after 2 hours, I've never had to do that. In places like Rongai, you know, you look at, when this government was getting in, you look at these guys, they were going praying, they were going, walikuwa naenda wakiomba, unathani ni wazuri. But we've seen that ton of things, and I don't mean to get emotional, but we've seen that ton of things, and you would think, these were people who we thought they are going to be responsible for us, for this country. But,
it's okay.
Kuwa watu,
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I didn't mean to be emotional, but when you kill people like that and they are young, it's not like we thought they'd be responsible, like you get.
It's okay.
And then, like, the fear, you know, like you keep checking up on your friend every 2 hours, unamsho, like, uko sawa. My friend, like, called me, like, missed calls.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Kwani tunarudi wapi?
Sorry about that.
You know, like, uko ni mahali tulitoka, you know? We need a better Kenya, you guys. We need a better Kenya. And when you go, like, praying in churches and saying how much you fear God, and then you do the complete opposite, it's heartbreaking. Me, I'm crying because first of all, I'm crying because I'm heartbroken for those lives that were lost, but also I'm disappointed. And then somebody comes and says, like, as your father, we expect you, like, as your father, I urge you to stop it. No, as your children, we urge you to stop killing us. That's all. Yeah. I don't know how you know, like, we are all different cultures. In my culture, when you do something bad, there are consequences, and it goes to your 4 generations. The reason why is because haukuangi peke yako hii dunia. There's those before you and those who will come after you. And so you are told you have to be very careful of the things that you do for those who will come after you. So tuseme ukiweza fanya kitu mbaya, a curse befalls you. There are different types of curses. There's one, like, tuseme kaa ni kuiba, you steal something, if you don't return it twice of what, if you don't return twice of what you stole, you know, maisha yako haitaenda vizuri. But then there's this one for bloodshed. It's usually worse because it inafuatanga your generation until the 4th one. They will pay for what you did. So yeah, I don't know about other cultures, but in my culture, there's usually repercussions. Yes, consequences.
It goes the same across Africa.
Yes.
It is across. Somebody else will tell you the same. You go to the next country, they will tell you the same.
Yes.
You pay for that, especially human blood. It is so precious in the spiritual realm. Now, let's talk about, those are the ones that gave the orders. What about the trigger finger? Those that press the trigger. Does it happen the same to them?
I had to deal with this question when my father was murdered. For me, I did not have any grudge with the the people who pulled the trigger. Hiyo ni kazi yao. Mimi, my grudge is usually with those who give the orders.
Wait, what do you mean hiyo ni kazi yao?
Because kama you see like sharpshooters.
Yes. Amesomea
hiyo kazi ya kuuana. Yes, atakuwa na consequences zake. But hiyo ni kazi yeye amesomea na ametrain. Kama hangepata orders, hakungekuwa na hiyo niche. Kama hakungekuwa na watu wanamuandika hiyo kazi. It's like a witch doctor. Kama hakungekuwa na niche ya watu wanaendanga kwa witch doctors, hakungekuwa na hiyo niche ya witch doctor. So witch doctors hawangekuwa na kazi. So now all this goes back to humanity. It is us who create these bad energies. It is us. Ni mimi na wewe. We create the bad energies that we see in this world. The bad people we see in this world. It is us. Ni lazima pakuwe na gap ya kuua watu. Kukuwe na bizna ya kuua watu. Ndio huyo mtu asomee hiyo kazi. So all this goes back to us. Yes, hata huyo wa kushoot atakuwa na consequences zake. But yule mwenye atakuwa na hiyo mzigo ile kubwa ni huyo anaissue orders.
It is issuing the orders. Starting from the
yes. Because you've created this person who's going to be shooting. Yes.
Wow. Let's talk about the role of the church, especially in all of these. After these uprising was like gaining momentum, they were silent. But then again, there was the hashtag Occupy Churches. That's when we started to see them, talk and issue press conferences and press release forms and saying, we condemn. Do you think it was too late for the church to speak? And what is their role, especially now that blood is on the soil?
The church could have started from the very beginning. This government, ilienda campaign kwa churches and the churches accepted them. In fact, the church was behind this government. Very, very much. I wish it spoke earlier and it said, please do not kill our children. Please do not do this. Not just the church, Robert. We have elders, cultural elders. They've been quiet. For instance, in my culture, whenever there are people who want to, during elections, you find that our cultural elders, ndio huwa wanaongea, they say we support this one. Hata wao walinyamaza. So the church, the cultural elders as a whole, they've disappointed us also. Wame to disappoint. Basically, you see, even for instance, in the 1990s, I've told you, the church and culture, they played a huge role in the maandamano of multipartyism. They did. So why is it that are they tired? Or what is wrong? Are they tired? Are they too relaxed? Did they get bought off too much? Because this was a time for our elders, our cultural elders, to stand up and say, you know what? We are still strong. Let us stand with the young people. It was a time for our church elders to stand up and say, you know what? Yes, let us stand with the young people, but they've disappointed us.
Right.
Yes.
Across the world, there's been a lot of talks and everyone keeps talking about it, not especially during such events, but everyone says religion has been for a long, long time used to compromise governance and everything. From where you are, do you feel that is correct?
Historically, it has. In fact, religion is very, I wish religions and politics didn't mix. Do you know, religion brings people together. But I don't know about here in Africa. It created a lot of division here in Africa, because you find that sometimes even in some families, family members don't speak because of their belief systems and everything. But had it been taken in the right way, I think maybe we could have kungekuwa na umoja, and I wish Africans just understood religion in the right way, because I don't wanna tell religious people that they are wrong, because there's something that they find right in what they believe in, and there are some really nice people who are religious. But I do feel that we should always think in terms of Africanness, in terms of, regardless of your belief, you remember, before anything else, you're an African. And you start to think about umoja, the Ubuntu thing, yes, Ubuntu. Yes. Even if I have this and these beliefs, whenever there's a crisis, we put our weapons down, and we spread love. Tukuwe na Ubuntu. Tuseme sisi ni our Africa. We start working together. But unless we have that oneness and oneness in African mind, hatutasonga mbele. We will keep being divided by our religious beliefs, by our tribalic beliefs, all that. Tukue tu na umoja tu as Africans.
Right. From where you are, you stand at a unique point. Now, do you think the government has failed this generation? And what is this failure point that the generation is uprising? What is this? I know the uprising is all about the Finance Bill 2024, the uproar, they don't want that, overtaxation, lack of jobs and everything. Who is failing and where exactly is the problem, especially right now?
In Kenya, the problem is that there's a gap between the rich and those who are not rich, the poor. There's a big gap. And I wish even this financial bill was taxing the very rich, the extremely rich, churches included, because they do make a lot of money, the big ones. I wish it taxed people like places like, for instance, the alcoholic drinks, itaxiwe kabisa, so that you will solve problem. You will hit a bird with you will hit one bird with two stones.
Two birds
with one stone.
Yes.
I wish it looked at those sectors, but also can I tell you something interesting? There's a Gen Z I saw on social media saying, ujue si Gen Z hatuna kazi, si mayouths hatuna kazi. So ndo sababu unaona tukikuja wapi maandamano. If we had things that were keeping us busy, situngekuwa nini? Tungekuwa makazini, tungekuwa wapi. So even there's a problem of unemployment. Kuna shida ya unemployment and also good wages, like a wage that will enable us to live in a good country. Kenya inakuanga na pesa, but I think it is the management. There's a bad part of watu kujipenda, so watu wanaiba pesa na hakuna na management. So yeah, there's the big problem in Kenya is management na kujipenda. Tukiweza ondoa hizo vitu, tuko sawa.
Yeah, tukiweza ondoa hizo vitu kujipenda in management under management,
yes,
tunaweza kuwa tuko sawa. The president on a press conference, the MPs were sitting behind him. He said he will cut on expenditure and excessive travel and wastefulness. Do you think that's the genesis of our redemption, perhaps?
If he is able to do that, we can see whether it is going to work, and it can work. Look at countries like Burkina Faso. I've always loved Burkina Faso because of Thomas Sankara.
Yes,
One, he was cute, and then he did so well with that country.
You have a crush on a hero.
Yeah.
Well, who does this? Wairimu Mukuru.
Sankara, it wasn't until his best friend killed him, but he was a good leader. We can learn from him. He cut on expenditures. And even the guy who's taken up power right now in Burkina Faso, he's called Ibrahim
Traore?
Yes, he's done that. He's cut expenditure in his country. I wish the president angekata ma MP salary zao. There's usually, and even the allowances, awakate, because some of these guys, let these seats, easy seats that are envied so much, wacha zisikue that much envied juu ya pesa. Juu many people envy those seats because of the money that comes with those seats. There's a video that I saw Njugush posted on TikTok where the MPs are showing off their luxury cars, unaona waki show off. And then you ask yourself, watu wanatoa hii pesa wapi? Sini yetu. And these guys, it means that they show off with with the money that we are taxed. And even when you question, I am glad that people are starting to question even watches. Uyu ana afford he watch aje?
Millions.
Yes, millions on a watch while children are dying in Kenya. Even ni kujipenda. And then we were given books like Mstahiki Mea. We were given books like Betrayal in the City to read. The irony of that, did these guys think that when you give a generation such books, what do you expect from them? See, they'll question you.
Revolt.
Yeah, they will. And I'm not saying ati sasa waache kupeana hizo vitabu, but I want them to understand that this generation is smart. It is very smart. Right. So yes, we have to start questioning those expenditures. Let these seats, this ikue ati we envy those seats or we want those seats juu ya pesa yenye iko hapo. No. cut on that. Si uliona in the finance bill it was being proposed that the vice president's wife and the president's wife wapate like 700 million
for an office.
Unconstitutional. Hata mimi wacha niende nioleke huko Robert. Juu imagine if 50 people, if 50 women, young women waende state house waolewe huko, tutakuwa tunapata like on a monthly basis that's like 50 million ukikata ndio ikuwe 700 million. That's like 50M. On a monthly basis utakuwa unapata 1 million na hujafanyia kazi. I urge that even the first ladies, please look at former first ladies who would even create marathons, ndo wa create pesa. Like those initiatives are very important. Si maombi kila saa. Hey, God likes, hata ukiomba, Mungu anatakanga action. You have to show God you're making an effort. Juu tukishinda kuomba but we are not making an effort, we become lazy. That is laziness.
Wow.
Yes.
Someone said prayers cannot fix a nation. Bad governance should be fixed.
Yes.
How do you weigh in on that?
It is good to talk to God. We agree on that. Even as Africans, we the cradle of God and believing in God ilianza huko Africa. It is very important to have God. But let me tell you something. Mungu hapendi lazy people. Mungu hapendi unjust people. Mungu hapendi hypocrisy. That was the word I was looking for. So now what we have seen is a lot of hypocrisy. And imagine how now the younger generation is seeing things. The younger generation inaanza kushindwa. Itakasirika hata ikiona watu sasa wakiomba. Itashindwa we utashindanga kwa maombi na ufanyi kazi. Utashinda kwa maombi and you're doing the complete opposite of what even we are taught in our religious sectors, in our cultural sectors. You're doing the complete opposite. Please, can we just lower the hypocrisy? Please.
Right. How important is civic education right about now, even if it would be incorporated in our curriculum to teach the young people how governments run, how governance is conducted, and how the government makes its own money, and how important it is to pay your taxes and to remain on course with the government. Do you think civic education is important?
Yes, very important. And that is an amazing idea, even for the generations that are coming. We incorporate it even in our classes. But most importantly, as a Gen Z or a millennial, please make sure that you are educating ata watu wenye older generation, ata wale wako mashinani. Please, every single time you get an opportunity, a good communicator, you can easily shift the discussion. So always make sure incorporate nini kakitu about the Kenya that we want, about good leaders, how to choose good leaders. Right now, we are in a everybody is talking politics. So it's good even as you have discussions. Kama ni show ama kukaa unaongeleshea, you tell them, hapa na hapa, it is good to look at these qualities in a leader. It is good to look at the law. Like, just tell them simple laws. Like, tell them, even if it's in your own language, in a language that they understand. Tell them their rights as Kenyans. Tell them like, mbona tulikuwa tunakataa finance bill. Hata unaweza waambia tu kitu moja. Like for instance, the land issue. So you can talk to them about that one particular issue. Uambie hapa, unaweza kuta your land has been taken away, kama hulipi nini ushuru. You explain to them in a simple language. I urge every young person, make sure that even the older generations, they understand civic education. Hata kitu mtu anaanzanga tu kitu kimoja tu pole pole. Yes.
Speaking of civic education, the other day the president said now he wants to sit down with the stakeholders, the who's and who's, the economic advisors, so that he could understand on how to run this country properly to reduce the wastefulness. There is the SRC, Salaries and Remuneration Commission. That's their role, to regulate all of this. Do you think we have misplaced priorities perhaps?
Yeah. Do you remember like in the beginning, I told you the biggest issue ni under management na watu kujipenda. Kuna hiyo shida. There's hata kumbe even he acknowledges the fact that there's a lot of wastefulness. I wish he recognized this when the bill was being made, because the bill then would have been a bit much better. Because if he recognized this even when the bill was being drafted, si angejua penye wastefulness iko. penye wastefulness iko. Hata angeita how the remuneration hiyo yenye umesema angewaita yes SRC waketi chini waangalie where are the loopholes ama gaps ziko wapi hii country, sort it out, si ndio? I may not be that good in understanding the economics of how the country works, but let me tell you, Robert, even tu mtu tu hajasoma, mtu tu hata kama hujasoma, hata kama huna news, hizi ni vitu uta-understand. Uta-understand ikiwa in a simplified way. Utajua kuna a lot of wastefulness Kenya na watu kujipenda na a lot of greed. Tukiweza fix hiyo tuko sawa.
Right.
Yes.
Similarities between the Gen Zs and the Mau Mau, even as we finish on that, as we head over to the next chapter. The Mau Mau formed a party way back. The party now took over their grievances. You remember the Lancaster House Conference and all of that. The parties that you have mentioned. Even before the Lancaster House Conference, they had parties which, you know, now they took their grievances to the white man and said, hey, this is what we want. This is our land. This is what we are advocating for. The Gen Zs right now, they do not have a leader. Are we looking at a party that is formed out of all of this revolution?
Okay, a party for the Gen Z.
Yes.
I wouldn't even advise the Gen Z to have a leader in this moment. They should just be looking at, si walisikizwa bila leader.
No.
See, in fact, they brought a revolution without a leader. You know what a leader does? Wacha walidiwe na Mungu. That's what I'll say. Let them be led by God, because it's God leading them. And for instance, when you look at the Mau Mau, do you know why the Mau Mau seemed like Kimathi was a leader? It's because it reached a point that they needed to say who's commanding them. Whenever they were captured, they'd be asked, who's commanding you? And so he removed himself as the sacrificial lamb and said, you know what? Semeni ni mimi. That's why inaonekana like they had a leader. But you're finding different generals like General Mwariama, General Kurito or Kurito, you know. Yeah. You're finding different leaders in the different generals in that group. So what I would tell the Gen Z is, nyinyi kaeni tu mkiwa Gen Z. Kaeni tu hivyo. Venye tu you did a great job. Venye tu hiki tu ilianza, let it stay like that. Until you feel like now it's appropriate. Even that's what the Mau Mau did. Until they felt like, hapa sasa, tukishikwa tutasema nani ametucommand. Until saa ifike hapo. But for now, your grievances are being heard hata kama hamna leaders.
Right.
Yes.
Wairimu, you stand from a different, or a unique rather, position. A child of a former member of parliament, former Kabete member of parliament, George Muchai, tragically assassinated in 2015. How did this assassination shape your views, especially regarding political violence and state-sponsored assassinations?
It affected me a lot because, number one, I realized watu hawananga huruma. For instance, when my dad was assassinated, the place he was working in Kotu. He was not paid his salary. It was like a whole year salary. So he was assassinated, and still they didn't pay his salary for that 1 year. He had worked there for so many years. The least they could have done is just pay his salary. Simple. They didn't do it. So you can see from that, I realized there's mercilessness with these assassinations. Kuna kwanga na a lot of mercilessness, and that goes back. That's why it shifted my perspective, because I was like, you guys, you've killed my dad, you didn't even pay his salary, and still I'm expected to just be quiet. No, that's where I gained the courage to always speak my mind, even politically. I said, what worse can they do? What was worse than killing somebody's parent? You don't know how the children, I always asked myself, do these people ask themselves how the children will go on? How the amount of trauma that we got, my brothers and sisters got, the amount of suffering, even financially, that we got. But do you know what? We pushed on. We pushed on. Na tuko tu sawa. We keep pushing. So I realized that there's a lot of mercilessness within politics. And so you have to be careful. And at the same time, you have to keep on having courage. Iyo courage isiwahi kuacha. But yes, there's a lot of mercilessness there.
Right. When you see members of parliament today passing laws that are only beneficial to them, perhaps, what comes to your mind from your unique position as a child of a former member of parliament?
My dad used to tell me that parliament is a place of kuchinja wananchi. It's not a place of reforming laws. The Parliament of Kenya. He told me, you know what, Mims? That place ni place unakuta mtu anachinja watu wenye walimvotia, ni kuwachinja tu. Sio laws ana make za kusaidia wenye walimvotia, hasaidii wenye walimvotia. And now that is when it clicked. Now this is when it's clicking. Because seeing my member of parliament, you know, saying yes, and still seeing him smiling and clapping as if he did a good thing. Some of our members of parliament here in Central, Robert, they are abusing us on social media. Unakuta mtu anawatusi, anawambia nyi hamna akili, nyi Gen Z hamna akili, nyinyi hata, you know, all that nonsense that they are doing. It's made me, you know, Robert, it's made me think, what if Kenya is not being run by smart people? Labda Kenya, you know, like from a perspective, unaonanga mtu akona gari kubwa, akona pesa, but unadhani labda anafikiria. Maybe Kenya is being run by people who don't, watu wenye si werevu, and that means we are in trouble. Watu wenye hawana utu, that means we are in trouble, Robert. Who did we elect? And sasa, I think we have to work also on ourselves. Ndio tukielect watu tuwe tunaangalia vizuri who we are electing. Is this person smart? Does this person have kindness? You know, kindness cannot be hidden. Hata mtu anajaribu kuficha ati yeye ni mzuri, utaona si mzuri. So let's always look at, first of all, hapa na hapa. The way the person thinks and also their heart. Are they a leader? Can they lead well? It's actually shocked me. Imeni shock sana to see that our leaders, kuna shida.
Do you think if your father was alive today, he would have changed much?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I do know he stood up for his people. That's why he was murdered. So I don't think he would have even said yes. And he wasn't the kind of, my father was not the kind of man to be pushed around. No, he was a very strong man. He was, I remember can I tell you a funny story?
Yes.
So my mother tells me a story of when they visited his brother. His brother was dying of cancer in the hospital. And my dad saw his brother in his final days. And then he told his brother, they used to call each other Jabawa. Jabawa means Jabaya Awa, to say the courageous one of my father.
Wow.
So my father gets to the hospital and says, Jabawa, no. Now the sun has refused you. And when the sun refuses you, when the earth refuses you, you have to bow down and just say, it is well. And so that was the kind of man he was. He was sad that his brother was dying. But you know what? He was like, it is what it is. So for him, he was a very courageous man and he was brave. So angeitikia kupushiwa around ati by party politics. No, the people who vote you in are more important than the party that you enter with. Robert, I don't understand how the party has become more important than the people who voted you, than the people you represent. Because now it seems like the party is more important. Now we are doing as the party wishes. No, it is those people who voted you in. They are more important. So I believe he would have looked at masilahi ya wale walimweka hapo.
Right.
Yes.
Because today we are seeing, what you're saying is really true, because some of the MPs are coming out clearly and saying, I cannot betray my party leader. So they are more loyal to the party than to their people.
Tena, kwani are we being led by Stalin? You know, Stalin is I love to look at dictators. Stalin is the one, ukiangalia videos za Stalin za mapema, whenever Stalin would talk, he was a very funny one. He would look at everybody kama kila mtu ana clap. And you're seeing everybody like, kwani sisi we are Russia now? Are we the Soviet Union? Ama tuko kwa Kim Jong-un? You know, like, you get, who is leading us? Tulitoka hapo.
Right.
Yeah, let's take courage as leaders. Yes.
According to your background, do you ever feel the need to rise up and take leadership position, perhaps? Because we have seen the kids of former members of parliament taking up positions and leading. Do you ever feel motivated to lead the people of your constituency?
Not really, not even at the moment. I've always thought to myself, mambo ni kujipanga huwa inajipanga. But in all honesty, Robert, mimi ni kama Gen Z. Mimi I'm a millennial last born. So I'm always like, do you know sometimes you don't have to lead ukiwa in a political seat. Do you know you can change the world. Actually, you don't have to change the world ati ukiwa in politics. Do you know you can change the world even through social media? Just being
influential?
Yes, just that. Do you know you can change the world ata ukiwa mama wa chama? Kwenu unakuta you are saving money so well, mumenunua kashamba. See, you've changed your lives.
Absolutely.
You've changed the lives of those around you. So now that brings us to this same position. Let us not envy that much those seats of power. Let us think as young people, how can I change my life? How can I change the lives of those around me? Sio lazima ati ukue MP ama ukue governor ama ukue president ndio ati ubadilishe mambo. No. You can change our Gen Z ni wako in political seats.
No.
Are they governors? No. They don't even want, hata hawataki. Hata walisema, as we just want change. Hata me, I'm in that place. I just want change. And I'm thinking, how can I change myself? How can I be better? How can I now change my own people? How can we build a better society, a better culture?
Right.
Yes.
You're from a different generation. You are a millennial from what I've seen from your videos.
Yeah.
And you were not afraid. You were saying, I mean, I am this person from a millennial generation. I'm the last born millennial.
Yes.
And I'm calling out on you leaders, do the right thing.
Yes.
What inspires you to remain such a vibrant person, strong, opinionated, and you're still on? I'm
inspired by my mom. My mom is a very strong woman. Everything that I am, I always say, it's God. And then after God, it's my mom. She's really always encouraged me to speak my mind. She's ananipushingi. Typical African mother, you better. And then I think about my dad too a lot. And I always think, how can I be better? How can I do better? How can I go forward? Penye hakufika, tunaweza enda aje, his visions of like having a better country. How can I push that? And then this time I was inspired by the Gen Z. Me, I was in a political depression. Nilikuwa nasema, you know what, I'm tired of all this. Hata sitaongea, I won't do anything. But when I saw Gen Z coming out with so much courage, Mimi Robert, that's when hiyo kitu, the fire now got inside me. Nikasema hapana, hatutaachilia hawa wa fight peke yao. Hata sisi, what can we do as millennials?
Right.
Yes.
On your video, you called out on the leaders and you called them by name.
Yes.
Saying, even you have kids.
Yes.
What inspired such strong opinions?
It's the arrogance that they've displayed. That arrogance on social media that I've seen them display. They need to understand that kukua leader it may not be an easy thing, but you have to be wise. You have to be very wise. And the name mheshimiwa or the name honorable, you have to carry it with dignity. Ukue hiyo jina. You be that because your people place responsibility on you because they believed in you. So you better show up. You better show up. And they do have kids. We're always seeing their kids on social media. Why is it that they think that their kids are special more than those who've been killed? No. In this world, things change. They change. Let me tell you, there's somebody who said something awesome that I related with. This person said, the difference between you and a celebrity or a leader is that celebrity has more money than you. Okay. In the end, munafanana ni human kama wewe. We are all human. No. Na unajua vitu za hii dunia, zinapitanga. Huwa zinapita. Everything in this world huwa inapita. So please, me, I call them I call them out by name because of their display of arrogance and ignorance. as leaders, they've let us down, especially the ones who we've seen speaking, how they speak, the way they speak in arrogance. Apana. Even the ones who shoot people. Kuna leader in Central who shot a young man.
There are many.
Yeah, very many, right? Who are these people we are electing? I don't know.
Wairimu, from your point of view and from your background as well, if you are in the parliament today, member of parliament, Kabete, what are you changing there? From the parliament all the way to your constituency. Start from the parliament to the governance. What are you changing?
Okay, the things that are wrong with parliament. First of all, I do believe that parliament should open its doors more often to young people. Unaona hata kama ni spectators venye hao US walikuwa wamekuja kuspectate huko juu.
Oh yeah.
I do think that even I think that young people of this country should have an opportunity kukua kule juu. Na si ati kukue na si lazima wakue wengi, hapana, but just a group of us should have an opportunity every time parliament is passing laws and everything, tukuange huko juu tukiona what is happening. That is very important. Number 2, for me in my constituency, I wouldn't give people the bare minimum. No. People are used to being given unga, especially the women in my constituency, kupewa unga as a way, especially time ya campaign, unakuta mtu tu anapewa unga ndio avotie their leader. But we are worth more than that unga. We are worthy of much more. We are worthy of meat. We are worthy of good health systems, good hospitals. Hata kama ni ka hospital kadogo, we are worthy of those good hospitals uko Kabete. We are worthy of having good roads. We are worthy of having at least kids kwa shule zenye ziko Kabete wakuwe na vitabu nzuri, like we educate them so well. Sio tu ati mtoto akona shule iko na gate na kapo imepakwa rangi but haina vitabu, ama shule iko na good kitchens but haina chakula, ama unakuta shule iko na very good toilets but haina maji. Imagine, Robert, to this day kuna watoto bado, and people think that it is discipline, but sometimes you have to think a little bit in terms of kuna watoto wanabebanga maji na wanabebanga dasta kutoka kwao waende waoshe classes. Si wanafaa kwenda kusoma? Kunafaa kukuwa na employed people who clean the classes.
Absolutely.
You get, like, if you look at even the schools in Kabete, when you think about it, some of these kids ukiona wakienda in the morning, like unakuta hawana na uniforms poa. Bag zao sio poa. So we are worthy of much better, and that can be fixed. That can easily be fixed. We are worthy of so much more. That is the message. We are worthy of so much more.
So profound, Wairimu. You are a brave lady. I have interacted with you.
Yeah.
And I can tell you are brave, you are intelligent,
Yeah.
you are full of empathy.
Yeah.
I've seen you shed tears over the lives that we have lost in
Yeah.
this land. Amazing insights. Now, in the same line of thought, if you are the president of the Republic of Kenya today, aside from conceding and taking away the Finance Bill 2024, what else are you changing to make sure the Kenyan youths are not on the streets but working?
Nakata mishahara ya maminister, MP, na ninakata mishahara ya kila mtu ako in government, tunawakata mishahara. Mi hata naweza ikata by half. Number 2, natoa women rep, natoa MCAs nitawatoa. No, MCA wacha wakae juu ya governor. But natoa women rep na hawa nominated siwataki na watoa. That is cutting costs. Part of cutting costs ni I don't understand what women reps do. And I'm a woman, Robert, I'm a woman. And I get the whole feminism movement, but the women reps said nothing in terms ya hii mambo ya pads and everything. Walinyamaza hawakuongea. Waondoke, what's their work? That's part of cutting expenditure. These seats of nominated people, I don't know how nominated people get seats. I don't understand how they get those seats, but na watoa pia how. The youth, I would make sure that the youths, the leaders being elected, they have, wasipite miaka 50, aki wasipite. Okay, you know, as Africans, hata ukiwa 50, yes, we don't grow old haraka, but the people in power, wasipite miaka 50. That is what I'd say. So that you can give youths more opportunities. And I would make sure that people being elected ni watu, I would have civic education and tell my people, uki elect watu, look at various things in leaders. But most importantly, I would look at sectors. Unaona hizi sectors za mikono?
Yes.
Hizo kazi za mikono.
Yeah.
Yes. Na pia online jobs. Hizi AI venye AI inafanya kazi.
Change,
yes, digital work. Right. Unajua there are so many youths who are benefiting from online jobs.
Absolutely.
And pia creating, unaona hizi working spaces zenye ni open, we should have like government working spaces, like mtu anaweza kuja afanye job yake na lapi. I would create those many spaces. So most importantly, hizi work za nini, za mikono, za plumbing, hizo hazitawahi kosa nini, kazi hizo. Creativity is very important, especially in our movies. Tunaweza tengeneza. That's what Congo, they tried to do with the president. What was his name mwenye alikuwa anavaa hat? Seseko.
Mobutu Sese Seko.
See, that's why Congo music became so up there, because he tried to build the creative industry in Congo. So building the creative industry in Kenya is very important, but I would push it. We tell our own cultural stories. Kama wewe ni Luya, you speak or you create movies, you create songs, you create fashion ya Waluya, and then that is how the world will see like a cultural nation. What works, the world usually loves Africa for its cultures and our creativity. So yes, mi nitaangalia your sector.
Right. We amazing. We have a ministry for that, led by Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba. He was booed the other day at an event, the fundraiser for Fred Omondi.
Yeah.
Right now there is an uprising. Everybody is just tired of any government representative. We saw Moses Kuri at a church function the other day. People were walking out. Why do you think is the disgust, the strong disgust is still there?
Ababu Namwamba ni minister wa culture. Sports and culture, right? Haya. For instance, does the government sponsor like cultural, even in movies? Like ukileta like a movie yako, tuseme it's speaking about our history and traditions. Do they sponsor that? No. Ama sini wewe unajisponsoria? Can I do an advertisement?
Go for it.
There's a movie coming out. It's called Wamaitha. It's going to be on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know when this will air, but it's a movie about the history of the Mau Mau. So, for instance, the director of that movie was telling me he funded it himself. When he went to the government, walimwambia they can't do it. So, in fact, he funded that movie for himself. You want to tell me there's no money allocated for something like that? That's why they are being booed. Juu ukijaribu kujiamkisha tu, hauna, ni wewe. Gava haiwezi kusaidia. And it's okay. But penye unaweza saidia, please the government, saidia. This is why Moses Kuria is being booed. Unaona, Moses Kuria unaona watu wakitoka. We are tired of them. And also I think we need new leadership as a whole. Do these ministers who got put there, do they know, like, are they educated on the seats that they were put there? Like kama umewekwa ukiwa minister wa sports and culture, are you educated? Ulisomea mambo ya utamaduni? You get? Just look at Ababu Namwamba, for instance. We've talked about him. Is he cultural? He's a Luya man. Is he cultural? Does he engage in his cultural activities? Does he know Luya history? You know how Luyas migrated into Kenya, their culture. Does he know all that? Is he educated in that sector? Look at kama ni minister wa finance, is he educated in that? Amesomea. Akona experience.
That is a problem. Even as we wind up, Wairimu, I want to give you a chance to speak to these Kenyan youths, the ones that are leading this revolution, as they call it. How would you weigh in? What would you tell them? What is your message to them, the Gen Zs and the millennials? You being a millennial now, looking at this camera, talk to the Kenyan youths.
Okay, so I tell them what I feel about them.
Yes, what is going on,
Yeah.
what is leading their revolt, and what's your message towards them?
So to all Gen Zs, let me start with the Gen Zs because they are the ones who started this whole revolution. Let me tell you, you guys are doing an amazing job. You are doing great. And you have inspired me. I did a video and said, you inspired me to speak up and to state my political beliefs. Thank you so much for that. Please don't stop. Please continue speaking on various political issues affecting us. Please don't stop. You guys are amazing. To the millennials, the best thing that we can do for this country is to also speak up. Mukiona Gen Z wameanza kuongea, please usianze kuongea kuwa let down. Please washikilie pia wao. They need us. Washikilie. Penye ukiona wanaongea, stop trying to discourage them. Apana. In fact, we are their big sisters and their big brothers. Some of them, najua kuna Gen Z mwenye ni mama ama baba ya kuna millennium mwenye ni baba ama mama wa Gen Z. Kindly do not discourage these guys. They are our little brothers and little sisters. Let us try to encourage them so that we can have a better Kenya. To the both groups, let us just push for a better Kenya. Push for a better Kenya. And I know we'll get that better Kenya. Yeah, I know that. And we are not the first ones. Maumau walikuwa, akina Haridhuku, watu wa Sabasaba, akina Koiwa wa Mwere, Kenneth Matiba, all of those, walikuwa. Raila Odinga, he was there. So, and they pushed for a better Kenya. That's why we have multipartyism. Yeah, so let's keep pushing.
Right, speak to the church as well, especially regarding all of this that is happening. We saw Reverend Joya back in the day. He was standing against President Moi. Today the church is quiet. They're only issuing papers and statements. Speak to the church as well.
To the church, whenever you see that maybe there's a mistake that has been done, it's okay. We all make mistakes. What we do is that we stand up and we continue moving. We keep moving forward. So please, do not see ni kama like muli make mistake, muone munyamaze with the whole government endorsement. Apana. There's still time. Please, there's still time. And let me tell you, we are very forgiving. There's still time for you to show that a church is a safe place. And the next time, please always make sure that the church is a place of worship. Penye mtu anaenda anajua kuhusu Mungu. Please teach our parents about becoming better, how to be better, how to become better parents. Teach us how to become better children. Let the sermons be about the Bible, about the Old Testament, the New Testament. Let the sermons be about Yeshua and how Yeshua was, how kind he was. Sio kushindanga ati tunapea watu wa politics place ya kuongea ati waongee politics. Apana. Kama mtu atakama mheshimiwa, I am resisting to say that name. Atakama mheshimiwa amekuja kanisa, wacha yeye akuje kuomba. Wacha yeye akuje kusikiza neno la Mungu. Period. Just that. To the cultural leaders, you've been quiet for too long. Please start speaking up. Every cultural leader we have so many cultures in Kenya. Leaders wa Baluya waonge. Leader wa Kisii waonge. Leaders wa Wajaluo, cultural leaders ongeeni. Leaders wa Kikuyu ongeeni. Leaders wa Kalenjin, all of you, we need your voices. We need your voices. Please stand up for this country.
Lastly, speak to the Kenyan president specifically about all of these abductions of young people that are only voicing their concerns.
Mr. President, you are our father. You are our dad. Please. The same man. We don't want to see the man who was angry. That man scared us. And every single time I think about that man, I get emotional. We don't want to see that man. We want to see our dad, both of you and your deputy. We want to see our dads, the dads of this country. You are frightening us, and we don't want to see that. Please stop taking people, stop abducting people. Those are your children. I'm sure Charlene ni age hao watu umechukua. Every single time I talk about there's nothing worse than seeing that you're being led by somebody who can get that angry. So that's why I'm getting emotional. So please, as our dads, take care of this country. Look after this country. Stop arresting people. Stop abducting people. Those are your children. And stop killing us. Thanks.
Talk to the families that lost their loved ones, especially during these riots those lives that we lost that we did not deserve to lose right about now. The young men who were truly courageous. The only thing they carried was their flags, singing and chanting the national anthem, exercising patriotism and exercising their right to picket as enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution. Speak to the families of those affected.
I know how you're feeling, because for me, my father was murdered, and I know how it feels. It's really tough. I just want you to know that hata kama you don't heal immediately, it's a healing process, and you never heal like completely. But with time, you know, time does heal. And then like every pain that you had, it becomes a memory. So please hold on. Things will get better, I promise. As you move forward, as time goes by, you heal slowly. Hata kama you'll never heal completely, it does get better. Please know that anybody who died, that is a hero. That is a hero. They died for this country. Please be strong. Please hold on. Be strong, because that is all we can be on this earth. And I will tell you for sure, I know how you feel. It's usually very hard, but God usually gives us strength. You will get strength from God. Thank you.
Thank you, Wairimu Mukuru, for joining us. Thank you for honoring the call. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Mixed emotions there regarding the recent events that have been happening in our country. Young men were mercilessly butchered. To the security officials out there, we seriously urge you to exercise restraint. Our hearts are bleeding with you, all of those that lost their lives, friends and family as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section your thoughts, your take home in this conversation, the bloodsheds, because apparently blood, human blood, has a voice. Let us meet there at the comment section. Let us talk about it. Let us keep the conversations alive. Thank you for watching this episode of Society Unplugged up to this far. My name is Robert Rajoro. See you on the next one. Goodbye.